When Temujin first called himself Khan of all Mongols, it was almost aspirational. He still had a very small following, his lifelong rival Jamukha still commanded more people, and above them both stood Ong Khan of the Kereyid, his ritual father and the overlord on the central steppe. This episode is the story of how that changed, how Temujin smashed every rival tribe that had ever bullied, enslaved, or looked down on him, and then did something no steppe ruler had really done before. He turned that chaos into a system. This is the story of how Temujin became Genghis Khan. We left off with Temujin's first kurultai. Enough families showed up that he could call himself Khan of a small Mongol group, but let's not exaggerate it. Many important lineages still backed Jamukha. He was, in reality, a minor Khan under the shadow of Ong Khan. To make sure that Ong Khan doesn't misread it as rebellion, he sent envoys to the central steppe, saying in effect, "I'm not challenging you, I will unite the scattered Mongol clans under you." Ong Khan nodded along. As long as the Mongols stayed divided between Temujin and Jamukha, he was happy to play them against each other. Inside his small camp, Temujin had already begun making substantial changes. Traditionally, a Khan's court, called the Urdu, contained a cluster of his close relatives, serving as aristocracy over the tribe. But Temujin starts breaking that. He hands out key positions based on ability and loyalty, not by blood. He treats cooks, men who slaughter animals and handle food, as his first line of defense because of his fear of dying by getting poisoned like his father did. He also appoints a body of guards to take care of his protection throughout the day and the night. This principle was brand new to the steppe lands. He didn't care about what bone someone came from. He cared about what they could do. Of course, Jamukha does not accept any of this. Within a year, he finds an excuse to attack. One of Temujin's men kill a relative of Jamukha's during a cattle raid. Jamukha summons his followers, Temujin rallies his. The armies are not huge, probably only a few hundred people on both sides, but this is their first big showdown as adult rivals. Temujin loses. His forces are routed across the steppe, but Jamukha captures some of his men. After that, Jamukha does something that changes his image forever. He cuts off the head of one of the captured men and ties it to his horse's tail, a deliberate insult of the most sacred part of the body. In the words of the secret history, he also boiled 70 men alive in huge cauldrons. Even if that number is symbolic, the book makes it clear that Jamukha's revenge was horrific. Temujin loses the battle, but Jamukha also loses something, the moral high ground. The common herders start to think, if this is how the white-bone aristocrats behave when they win, maybe this upstart Temujin isn't the worst option. This was an unexpected turn of events. Jamukha's cruelty helps Temujin's reputation. A few years later, a new opportunity drops straight out of big power politics. From the south of Gobi, the powerful Jurkin rulers are playing their favorite game. Use steppe tribes against each other so none of them grow strong enough to threaten their empire. The Jurkin rulers decide that their former allies Tatars are getting too strong, so they encourage Ong Khan to attack the Tatars, who in turn enlists Temujin. In the winter of 1196, the combined forces smash into Tatar territory. For Temujin, this is an eye-opening raid. Tatars are extremely rich due to their proximity to Chinese trade routes. They have fine textiles, metal goods, and luxuries that the Mongols simply have no idea about. The amount of loot blows Temujin's mind. He also sees the pattern. The Jurkin rulers fight with the Tatars one year, and the next they fight against them. He sees the game that they're playing. He also realizes that no victory or friendship is ever final, no peace permanent. He files that away for the world he's going to build later. In the short term, the Tatar loot makes his camp richer and draws more followers. After coming back from the Tatar campaign, Temujin turns his attention towards the Jurkins, who are his Mongol relatives living a little south of his own camp. He had asked them for help with the Tatar campaign, to which they had agreed but then refused to show up. On top of that, they also raided Temujin's camp while he was away fighting with the Tatars. To punish them, Temujin attacks them and wins easily. Then he does something new again. Instead of the usual loot them, take a few prisoners and leave the rest, which guarantees a future revenge raid, he calls a kurultai and puts the Jurkin nobles on trial. They are found guilty of betraying an ally and raiding his camp, and he gets them executed. No special mercy for noble blood. He then folds the rest of the Jurkin families into his own tribe. He even adopts a Jurkin boy and gives him to Erlun to raise as a son. Essentially, these people become families instead of permanent enemies. The message is that if you are a common herder and you join me, you'll be treated fairly. But if you are an aristocrat and you betray me, I will wipe your line off the steppe. Temujin eliminates the Jurkin leadership and takes their land on the Kereit. He sets up a new camp on a place called Avarga, which becomes his operations center for the next decade. Jamukha is not done yet. In 1201, backed by high-status clans like the Tayichiud, he holds his own kurultai and takes the grand old title of Gur Khan, Khan of Khans, which was last held by Ong Khan's uncle, whom he overthrew to become the ruler of the Kereyid. So this was Jamukha publicly challenging both Ong Khan and his subordinate Temujin. War was inevitable. Ong Khan personally leads a coalition army, Temujin alongside him. Against them stands Jamukha and his aristocratic followers. Before battle, both sides roll out their spirit banners, sacrifice animals, and summon shamans to beat drums and call the spirits. The primary objective of such displays is to frighten the other side so they would flee. To induce this fear, steppe warriors relied on many tactics. One of them was the display of spirit banners of common ancestors, before which warriors made animal sacrifices. Such dramas whipped up emotions and heightened tensions. A lineage on one side would find it very difficult to fight if their kinsmen on the other had paraded the spirit banner of their common ancestor. That would be tantamount to attacking one's own grandfather. While the two armies are going through these rituals, a huge storm breaks, which people attribute to the shamans on Temujin's side. Many warriors on Jamukha's side panic, convinced that the gods are against them, and desert. Jamukha flees too. Ong Khan chases him while Temujin is told to pursue the Tayichiud who went towards the Onon River, Temujin's childhood home. The battle in the forests along the Onon River is hard and close. Late in the day, an arrow slams into Temujin's neck. The wound isn't instantly fatal, but infection or poison can finish you quickly. Both sides make camps within sight of each other on the battlefield. This might seem odd, but this was to prevent a surprise night attack. Temujin collapses unconscious. His lieutenant Jelme stays by his side. All night, Jelme sucks blood from the wound and swallows it instead of spitting it on the ground to avoid offending the earth, and more importantly, to hide it from the enemy who would have felt encouraged by Temujin's injury had it become known. Only when he's literally full of blood and it starts spilling from his mouth, he finally starts spitting. At one point, Temujin wakes up and asks for fermented mare's milk, and Jelme, naked, to avoid raising any suspicion, walks into Tayichiud camp to find whatever dairy he can. By morning, Temujin is conscious again. Does he give a big emotional thank you? Not exactly. He grumbles something like, couldn't you have spat it somewhere else? Despite the apparent lack of gratitude, Temujin never forgets what Jelme did for him that night. He would become one of the most trusted generals of the future empire. After taking over the Tayichiud, Temujin repeats his pattern, executes the Tayichiud leadership, and folds the rest of the tribe into his own. After some 30 years, he also frees and rewards the poor servant family who had helped him escape the Tayichiud decades ago. Although Temujin successfully defeated the Tayichiud, he was unable to get hold of Jamukha. And in 1202, Ong Khan sends Temujin on another campaign against the Tatars in the east. Temujin uses this war to roll out more radical reforms. He bans the old habit of warriors dropping everything mid-battle to loot tents, which gave the opposing leaders more time to flee. He ordered that no one would touch the booty until the victory is complete. Everything should be piled under his central control and then redistributed. Second, he declares that for every soldier killed, a full share of loot will go to his widow and orphans. This could be coming from his own experience watching Olun struggle after Yasuge's death, or could be a practical decision. But now his men know that even if they die, their families will eat. This inspires deep loyalty in his soldiers. The poorest people in the tribe now see him as their protector. When a few warriors ignore his no looting early rule, he makes an example of them. They're stripped of all their assets and get no share of the Tatar spoils. Aristocrats hate this. They are used to handing out loot themselves to build their personal followings. Some storm off to Jamukha. Temujin lets them go because the system works. By waiting until the end of the campaign, his army captures more goods and animals than ever before. He can now feed and reward a more loyal base. Then he takes one more savage but strategic step. He summons a kurultai and proposes a drastic policy for the defeated Tatars. All adult Tatar males above the height of a cart's linchpin, that is, all potential warriors, are to be killed. Women and children are to be taken into his own tribe, not as slaves but as full members. To emphasize this, he adopts Tatar children into his own gear, and even takes Tatar noble women Yasugen and Yasui as additional wives. Temujin starts calling his mixed followers the people of the filled walls. Not Mongols, Tayichiud or Tatars, just people who live in gears. Step by step, Temujin is turning old enemy labels into one new identity. There's still one big problem: Ong Khan. Everyone knows that the old man's career is ending, but the question is, who comes after? Temujin controls most of the Mongol clans by now. Jamukha is weakened but not totally gone. In 1203, Temujin decides to force the issue by asking to marry Ong Khan's daughter to his eldest son Jochi. If Ong Khan says yes, that's basically an admission that Temujin is the true heir. Ong Khan's biological son Sengam, who had little following and little talent, is horrified at the idea of marrying into the Low Mongols and persuades his father to say no. Ong Khan reportedly said that he would sooner commit his daughter to flames than give her to Temujin's son as his wife. That's a hard no. But Ong Khan quickly realizes his mistake. Temujin is now the best general on the steppe, and fighting him head-on is risky. So he decides to do what Tatars did to Yessige: kill Temujin at a feast. He sends word that he has changed his mind to Temujin and invites him with his family to celebrate the wedding between their offspring. On the way there, Temujin gets wind of the plot. Too far away from his main army, he doesn't want to risk an open fight. Once again in his life, he orders his people to scatter. He himself rides east with a tiny group of loyalists before Ong Khan's forces can begin their pursuit. They at last reach the muddy shores of Lake Baljana, exhausted, starving, and reduced to just 19 men. They manage to bring down a wild horse and boil it in a hide bag with hot stones and share the meat. Then Temujin raises the muddy lake water in a toast, thanks the men for not abandoning him, and swears never to forget whoever stands with him now. They together drink the muddy lake water. Later, in Mongol tradition, this moment becomes known as the Baljana Covenant. The 19 men came from 9 different tribes and several different faiths. What united them wasn't blood, clan, or religion. It was personal loyalty. From here, Temujin rebuilds. He sends messages across the steppe to reassemble his forces. But would this brand new army of men from all kinds of tribes show up at the command of an absent leader? Temujin had taken care of that. After the Tatar victory, to encourage brotherhood among his men, he had organized his army into units of tens, hundreds, and so on. This unit of 10 men of different backgrounds was supposed to have bonds stronger than family. They were always supposed to stay with each other during the battle and were ordered to never forsake each other. Because of this new military structure, his scattered warriors reassemble quickly. As he marches back west in a lightning advance, his men rejoin him from all directions. Ong Khan foolishly thinks that he has defeated Temujin, who strikes the Kereyid court at night during a victory feast. His forces surround the camp and attack from an unexpected direction. Over the next 3 days, Ong Khan's army doesn't just lose, it disintegrates. Many of the Kereyid nobles join Temujin. Others flee in all directions. Ong Khan himself dies far away from home, according to Mongol propaganda, in humiliation on the Naiman border. Temujin has just swallowed his former overlord. Central Mongolia now belongs to him. Now, there's just one major steppe power left, the Naiman in the west. Jamukha, now a wandering noble without a base, attaches himself to them. Temujin's war with the Naiman shows how fast his army has evolved. He uses psychological warfare, spreading stories about Naiman weakness, mocking their ruler as old woman Tayang, while also letting rumors circulate about how terrifying his own warriors are. At night, he orders each Mongol man to light multiple campfires so the Mongol army looks vastly larger from a distance. Then he tests his new tactical formations. The moving bush. Small squads of 10, creeping in like tumbleweed at dawn, attacking from many angles and then vanishing. The lake. Long thin lines of archers advancing in waves, each wave firing and then flowing back while the next line steps up. The chisel, a narrow but deep column smashing a hole into the now overstretched enemy line due to the previous formation. On the night before the decisive clash, many Naiman warriors, confused and terrified, try to flee via a dangerous route. Many fall to their deaths in the gorge. The next day, the Mongols quickly finish off what's left. The Naiman ruler Tayang Khan is killed, his son flees, and Jamukha, he is now reduced to leading a tiny band of Jadran followers, living off wild animals in remote valleys, basically the same kind of existence that Temujin had as a boy. In 1205, Jamukha's own men give up. They seize him and drag him to Temujin, hoping to get rewarded. But they don't know Temujin. He values loyalty above all else, and Jamukha, for all the hatred and history, is still his anda. He gets all of them executed for betraying their leader. Then he turns to Jamukha. What follows is one of the most intense scenes in the secret history. Temujin offers to reunite. Let us be companions again. We should remind each other of things we have forgotten. Even when you went away and were apart from me, you were still my lucky, blessed swan brother. Surely in the days of killing and being killed, the pit of your stomach and your heart pained for me. Jamukha seemed moved by the plea, but he admits that even if he came back, Temujin would never truly be able to trust him. He would always be a louse in the collar, a splinter in the door panel. And rather than asking for mercy in the end, Jamukha asked for death with a single request, that they kill him in the aristocratic way without shedding his blood on the earth or exposing it to the sun and sky. Although he had failed Temujin in life, Jamukha offered to be a better friend to him in death. He vowed that if Temujin would place his body in a high place, he would watch over Temujin and all of his descendants. Kill me and lay my dead bones in the high ground, and then eternally and forever I would protect the seed of your seed and become a blessing for them. Wrapped in filth and killed without cutting, most likely trampled or crushed, Jamukha dies. Legend says that Temujin has him buried in a high place wearing the same gold belt that he once gave to him as an anda. With that, the last serious aristocratic rival to Temujin is gone. Tatars, Tayichiud, Jurkin, Merkid, Kereyid, Naiman, one by one, all of their ruling lines are either destroyed or absorbed into Temujin's orbit. The boy who once had no one but his own shadow now stands alone over an entire grassland. Victory in battle is not enough on the steppe. You have to be acclaimed. So in 1206, Genghis Khan calls a massive kurultai near the headwaters of the Onon by his sacred mountain Burkha Khaldun. Days of drinking and celebration follow, and he takes a new title, Genghis Khan, which we know as Genghis Khan. The word Genghis probably carried meanings like strong, powerful, unshakable and firm, and may have echoed other powerful words across Turkic and Mongol languages. But the most important thing he adopted that year was not a name, it was a law. Mongols later call it the Yassa, the Great Law. It's a growing body of rules he refines for the rest of his life, focusing on the most dangerous sources of internal conflict. No more selling or kidnapping of women, no more enslaving anyone. He established a lost and found system, and in a never-seen-before moment, declared total religious freedom. Priests of every faith, along with teachers, doctors, undertakers, legal workers, the people whose work benefits the society, are exempted from taxes. Most importantly, he makes it explicit that even the Khan is subject to the law. He's not a medieval European king ruling by the grace of God, sitting above justice. The boy whose life was wrecked by arbitrary violence, kidnapping, and betrayal has built a system designed to choke off these same forces in his own nation. Over the past 40 years, Temujin has killed his way out of every cage the steppe tried to put him in. But he didn't just stop at revenge. He rewired how power works on the steppe, killed the cruel nobles, absorbed the commoners, replaced birth with merit, turned raiding into organized war, turned a patchwork of tribes into one great Mongol nation under one great law. From this point on, he's no longer just Temujin, the abandoned boy from the Onon. He's Genghis Khan, and the rest of the world is about to find out what that means.